welcome to Widowcast Podcast, where you learn how to find the strength to get through your journey and the skills to coach other widows. This is not your average grief group. This is your journey group. It just may show you the way to make something amazing come out of the emotional pain and trauma of widowhood. I'm your host, Joanne Filomena. I'm the best-selling author of Widowed and Widow Coach, and I'm a professional certified life coach. Let the healing and your personal journey begin. Hey, welcome to episode 150. I didn't think episode 150 was going to be as timely as it is, but we are going to talk about a timely subject today. And that is the fact that you don't have to panic about COVID-19 to be smart. And let's talk about this coronavirus pandemic that we're sitting in the middle of as widows. Because here's the thing. I don't think that being scared and fearful about it is helpful for you, right? Remember, when you're scared and panicky, that's your brain talking to you, right? Our brain goes to extreme measures to keep us alive. Thank you, brain. That's an awesome thing. But if you are telling yourself things, or it's just hearing some of these things about this virus and what's going on in other parts of the world, or even what's going on right around you, your brain is going to make a story about that. And that story can cause you to be scared or feel panicky and realize it's the story you're telling yourself. And you want to look at that story, because let's be smart about it, but let's not terrify ourselves unjustly. And it's interesting that I am here talking to you about this fear of the coronavirus right now, right after having recorded a podcast episode on anticipation and the physical body response to anticipation. So if you haven't listened to that episode, it's the one that'll be right below this one. Go give that a listen, because I think a lot of that pertains to this too. I think a lot of what's making us feel fear and feel panicky is anticipation of what could happen, but it hasn't happened yet, right? So here's the thing. Instead of all the inflammatory stuff going on, all the political stuff going on, all the Facebook posting going on, I would highly, highly recommend you take a look at the WHO website, because that's kind of where I'm getting my guidance from. The WHO is the World Health Organization, and their website, it's not a .com, it's a .int for international, and it is WHO, WHO.int. You can go look at it later. Don't stop me. So listen, the World Health Organization, their responses and their recommendations about this virus are solid, because world pandemic viruses, that's kind of their jam. So all these posts that are, doctors saying, I'm a doctor of biology, blah, blah, blah. They're posting their observations. I'm seeing a lot of these posts floating around on Facebook. I'm seeing a lot of posts on Facebook trying to minimize what's going on by throwing numbers out there saying this is how many flu cases and how many people die from flu cases, and this is how many have died from this, and this is how many have died from that. And most of the numbers are just not even right. They're not fact-checked, and I don't think you can compare this novel coronavirus to the flu. We're talking two different viruses and a lot of unknowns with this one, and this one not even being necessarily transmitted identically to the flu. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this and what you do, because here's the thing. I will share with you what I'm doing. I am 66 years old. I do have some diagnoses that make me a high-risk person. so that if I get the COVID-19, the doctors are really going to want to watch me close just because of my age and the fact that I have hypertension and multiple sclerosis, which is an autoimmune disease, and some other things. They're going to keep a close eye on me. I hope they will anyway. And here's the thing. If you're over 50, supposedly over 50 is a higher risk. And the higher risk, I think, is not just a higher risk of getting it, but a higher risk of serious complications from getting it. Those under the age of 50 are not at high risk for complications, right? It may just kind of be like a low-grade thing. But here's the other thing. Under 50 or kids, maybe you're not going to be so affected by it. You may carry it and just not even get sick from it at all, but you're carrying it. And if you have older people in your life, or you're going to go into areas where there are older people, you could be passing along a death sentence. Might sound dramatic, but I think that's just the truth. Look at the nursing home up in Washington. Those older people cannot handle the virus. Their bodies cannot handle the virus. They go into pneumonia, and when older people get pneumonia, they tend to pass away. So even though if you're a younger widow with kids, and of course you're concerned for your children too, I understand. But the biggest concern is maybe grandma and grandpa shouldn't be coming over if you guys have been exposed in any way. You don't want grandma and grandpa loving on their grandkids. And it's going to be hard for grandma and grandpa to not go love on their grandkids for a little while. But you don't want to pass this along to older people in your life. So, of course, you've all heard wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. I think that's the number one way of transmitting that. People worry about being around somebody who's coughing. And yes, the WHO says maintain some social distance out there in public, like 3 feet. If there's somebody coughing, sneezing, you don't want to get in line right behind them. Some people stand too close to you in line. I hate that. I have my personal space. So allow people a few feet in front of you. Don't be worried someone's going to jump in line in front of you just because you're allowing a little distance. Avoid touching your face. This is such an interesting instruction. Let's talk about this one. Because as soon as somebody says, oh, don't touch your face, don't touch your nose, your mouth, or your eyes, my whole face starts to tingle and itch. How about you? But here's the thing. Your mind comes into play with this. Now, know that surgeons stand in an operating room and operate for hours on someone, right? When my husband went in for surgery, he was in the operating room for hours and hours. Those doctors can't touch their face, right? When you're operating, you can't touch your face. You can't scratch your nose. You can't. So it's about putting your mind in control. It's the same as when I was coaching Stop Overeating for permanent weight loss. I don't know how many of you listening to this right now know this, but I started out as a weight loss coach before I began working with widows as a life coach. And we talk a lot about urges in relationship to not overeating and being able to sit with an urge. If you have an urge for Oreos just because you're stressed at work, you don't have to give in to that urge. How do you not give in to the urge? You don't do it by resisting it, because the more you resist it, the more you feel the urge, the more you're focused on that urge. You're going to ignore the urge. You're just going to put your mind on something else. And it's the same thing with touching your face. If you are out and about where you can't stop and wash your hands or use some hand sanitizer or whatever, and you're touching things in the store, and you want to touch your face, pay attention to where your hands are. This is the best mind redirect there is. The mind redirect is my hands are going to stay below my armpits no matter what. And that's what you focus on. Like, my hands are just going to stay below my armpits. And then you start doing something else and you forget about all the little twitches and itches and rubbing your nose and rubbing your eyes. So it is a matter of looking at your mind, looking at your thoughts. Don't resist touching your face, because as soon as you're trying to resist it, oh my God, your whole head itches. It gets worse. You just want to be able to kind of ignore it. Like, yeah, I feel that right now. And I'm going to keep my hands below my armpits and I'm just going to look at something else. Because that's exactly how you bypass the urge to overeat. You don't resist it, but you don't give in to it either. You're like, there's that urge. I'm not going to. You know what, you guys? I haven't smoked in decades. I used to be a smoker back in the day. Many of us were. But here's where I am right now. You know what? There are still, to this day, times that I think, oh, it would be so nice to have a cigarette right now. And I laugh at myself because it's like, it's the last thing I want to do. I'm not going to actually do that. And plus, I know when I walk by somebody else who is smoking or has been smoking, I don't like that smell. So it's not like I have to resist. But I can notice that sometimes my brain goes, oh, if only we could just sit down and, have a margarita and light a cigarette. And I think it's funny. My brain still thinks that. But that's kind of where I want you to get the urge level when you are trying to avoid urges, when you're trying to avoid the urge to touch your face. Okay? Clearly, hopefully all of us have learned a long time ago about coughing and sneezing into our elbow and not our hand. I'm one that when I cough now, that's my natural reaction, coughing into my elbow. If it's hard for you to do that, let's get really old-fashioned and start carrying a handkerchief in your pocket, right? So you can, or in your purse, so you can whip out a handkerchief to put over your face when you cough or sneeze. Here are some other things that you want to pay attention to, especially if, like me, you're older and susceptible. If you have little kids and you're worried, enforce some of these things too. You know what? It makes sense right now, and it's not a panicky thing. This is just being smart about this. This is just being smart about limiting your exposure potential, right? You're going to want to become a homebody a little bit. Like, don't go out there into stores unnecessarily. Don't be out amongst people. Don't go to large gatherings that you don't have to go attend. Why do that to yourself? I had a large gathering that is happening tomorrow up in the north part of Dallas that I've been looking forward to 4 months. It's an annual business seminar with life coaches, and I love it, and I love seeing all my coach friends and associates up there. It's like a big, big deal for us. But here's the thing. My body temperature, now don't everybody freak out on me. I'm fine. I'm in Central Texas. We don't have any cases of coronavirus here. But my body temperature has been fluctuating weirdly. And I thought, along with maybe I shouldn't expose myself to a room full of 400 people from all over the country, now I'm starting to see my temperature going up a little. Maybe I've got something going on. Even if it's not coronavirus, who cares? I could have some strain of flu or something that I'm coming down with. How selfish would it be if I went up there to attend the conference anyway? Just because I'm excited to go do it. So I ended up canceling, and I'm out the money and all that, but it just made sense. It wasn't a panic move. It was using my brain to make an informed decision, right? Make informed decisions for yourself. That means, avoid crowds. Avoid eating out. This may not be the best time to go to the restaurant buffet. You know what I mean? So become a homebody. But more than that, all of these things about this virus, here's what I really want to share with you and talk about. And that is the fact that most of us who are widowed are on our own, right? Not even during these times with the pandemic. We're on our own. You may not have family nearby. You may not have any older kids at home that can kind of pick up the slack if you come down with something. So as a practice of life, living alone, you probably do want to have enough food on hand to get through 2 weeks without having to worry about going out and replenishing grocery supplies, right? Or a plan for how to get some fresh supplies delivered. You know, if you're in an area where you can get Walmart to deliver groceries to you, or get the Amazon market to like next day deliver groceries, awesome. You can do that. But the truth is, if you are on your own and you don't have anybody around to like run errands for you, you want to know that you can be sick with the flu or a cold or anything. If you get sick, you've got enough supplies in your house. Now, this does not mean you go out and buy 200 rolls of toilet paper. I'm sure we've all seen those memes and had the laugh at the emptying shelves of toilet paper. Everybody's like, why? Why? This virus doesn't like give you diarrhea. You know, what is the deal with that? But for yourself, yeah, you probably want to have enough toilet paper in the closet that you personally can go through a couple weeks at all times, not just during a pandemic, right? Make sure that you have 2 weeks worth of your medications that you need at all times. Know that you have some food in your pantry that's a go-to. And you have to recycle it. You can't just buy stuff, put it in there, and leave it in there for 3 years, because it's not going to be any good. But to make sure that, you know, when you use a can of soup out of your pantry, that you put it on your grocery list to put back that can of soup. So you're rotating your stock of things like, you know, soup or dried beans or rice or pasta, the things that can sit in your pantry that you can throw together to make quick, easy meals if you are under the weather. Okay, so yes, you do want to think in advance for these things. I know I did, especially in New York, because I was upstate New York where we would get blizzards. And I knew if we had something dump 4 feet of snow, it was going to be a while before everything was dug out and cleared enough to get in a car and go to the store, right? You could be stuck in your house for a few days. So I always made sure I had extra food, not just what I needed from 1 week to the next, but a couple weeks worth of food in the house. So it just makes sense to do that anyway. Even if, you know, you're not in an area where there could be hurricanes or tornadoes or whatever, you know, big storms and outages, just the fact that you are on your own, you need to look out for yourself on a regular basis, right? On a regular basis. It doesn't mean, like I said, that you go buy 200 rolls of toilet paper or go buy every bag of dried beans you get your hands on, because you'll never cook all those up. You know that. But to be smart about it. And right now, especially, as I said, for those of you who, like me, are over the age of 60, you want to just be smart. Don't put yourself out there in social situations that you could come in contact with the virus. Know that you could. If you start running fevers, have a cough, and start having a little breathing difficulty, you want to reach out to your doctor. That's when you need to be seen, examined, and even possibly tested. That is what is going to make the difference. So again, that's if you have a fever and you're coughing and you have a little difficulty breathing, like maybe a little shortness of breath, call your doctor. Don't just go to the ER. Don't just go to the doctor's office. They may want to know ahead of time to meet you at the door with a mask,
right? You don't want to just walk into a room and start infecting people. But you do want to let your doctor know if you have anything at all like that going on. Don't go panicking to your doctor if you have body aches and pains, if you're throwing up, if you have diarrhea, all of those things, because that's flu or the cold, right? This is kind of a very specific set of symptoms for this virus. And again, as I said, you can go look at WHO.int, that's WHO.int on the internet to get all the latest update and recommendations and information that you know is true and sane, right? So use your brain to make informed decisions. Don't put yourself in a state of anticipation that is panic and fear, because you're triggering your own body response. Your body will drop your defenses. That's not what you want to have happen, right? We don't want to drop our body's physical defenses against illness at a time that there's illness out there, and have that happening because we're anticipating, oh my gosh, I could get exposed to this. Oh my gosh, I could pass this to my kids. Oh my gosh, somebody could get really sick. These are the things, anticipating these things, that's going to give your body response a real hit. Okay? When you're feeling that way, sit down, write it all out, get real about it with yourself. Know that, hey, I'm in a safe area. I'm going to use my head. What's going on around me? How much should I limit going out to get things? Can I do it all in one trip and come home and not need to go out again for a few days? Right? So, use your head, wash your hands. Listen, soap and water works better than anything on anything. I have a friend who is a professor of biology at Kokomo University, and she once told me, you don't need antibacterial anything. Soap and water actually does a better job. So, wash your hands, soap and water. Of course, you want hand sanitizer if you're out, because here's what you want to do. If you are out in the store, because you have to make that trip, and if the store has sanitizer wipes for the cart, use them. Not all stores even have them. After you have checked out, paid the cashier, put all the groceries in your car, get in your car and use some hand sanitizer before you even drive home. As soon as you get home, get those groceries out into the kitchen, walk to the sink, wash your hands with soap and water. Put all your groceries away. Walk back to the sink, wash your hands with soap and water. It may sound like overkill, but this is what I've been doing, because there have been so many reports of how long this virus can live on surfaces. I know anything I'm touching that's coming into my house could have been touched by the virus. Probably not locally for me, at least not before today, because I'm in Central Texas. Although today we have a lot of people from out of state here, because there was supposed to be a huge event at the silos, which the silos canceled last night, but all those tourists are in town. When I get my mail and I get deliveries, because I do order quite often from Amazon for convenience, I bring those boxes and letters in my house. I open them up. I take out the contents. I wash my hands. Because to me, I don't know where the item shipped from, who touched that in the warehouse to put it in the box, who touched it to put it on the shelves of the warehouse. I think I'm hyper alert to that, because early on with this, I had ordered a couple of shawl pins, and when they arrived, I loved them. They're very Game of Thrones looking. It means I can throw one of my warm shawls around my shoulders and put one of these circle pins on it to hold the shawl on. Really neat. I opened them up. I stuck one on my shawl immediately and went, oh, this is so cool. And a few minutes later, it struck me. I walked back to my desk, looked down at the plastic envelope that they shipped in to me, and it shipped directly to me from China. And I thought, oh my goodness, what have I just done? Got rid of the envelope, washed my hands, washed my face, took the brooch off. I had bought 2 brooches. I put both brooches in I have an ultraviolet light sanitizer because I have a CPAP machine and I have to sanitize my mask daily. So I put those in there because the sanitizer can be used for all kinds of different things with that ultraviolet light. Threw those in the sanitizer, put my phone in the sanitizer because I had touched my phone since I had opened the brooches. Anything else, then went back again and washed my hands. Okay? So it made me really realize, oh my goodness, when I'm ordering from Amazon, how much of that stuff is coming to me from China. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes they don't tell you when it is coming directly from China to you until the envelope shows up in the mail and you see it came from China, right? So now I've just for now made it a standard practice. Anytime I bring anything new into the house like that, take it out of the packaging, wash my hands, get rid of the packaging, wash my hands, and I'm good to go. So hand sanitizer in your car is a great idea. Wash your hands after you've opened your mail. Don't touch your face until you do. After you wash your hands, touch your face all you want. And that is how you stop being scared and panicky and use your brain, being smart about this. So all of you, stay healthy. And I'll be talking to you more about staying healthy and what to do to improve your health, because on your own, you want to make sure you stay healthy. As far as I'm concerned, I'm 66 now. I don't hide my age. I'm 66, and I want to not necessarily live to be 100 years old or 120 years old, but I want my years to continue to be active. I want my brain to be active. I want to be enjoying life. And I think part of that is actively taking measures to keep myself healthy and avoid diseases of aging as I go forward into my later years. So I may even begin doing a couple of episodes for all of my widows out there on longevity and the studies on longevity and the things I'm doing for longevity and health and avoiding the diseases of old age. Until then, wash your hands, don't touch your face, wash your clothes. I read a recommendation about coming home if you do have to go out and changing clothes. Throw your clothes into the wash, put on something different, and a recommendation to wash coats and jackets every 1 to 2 days. I would say for sure, if you have kids, hopefully their jackets are washable, and you can take them off the kids and just run them through the washer every couple of wearings outside, so that you are being smart about this, but not scared and panicked. Okay? You guys, get out there and find some joy in life, too. I mean, I can go sit on my back patio in the sun and listen to the birds and watch what's happening. All of the house geckos in Central Texas showed up last night. The weather has warmed up enough. I peeked out on my patio. I must have had 6 of those guys out there on the walls. So even though if you are being a homebody to try to avoid exposure right now, there's still ways to find pleasure, still ways to find joy. So find some joy in your life, and I'll talk to you again soon.